So in, in terms of uh, in terms of how we can not necessarily play the system, but manage and maintain. Having first-hand account experience, I can honestly say that it's been played, and played in the sense whereby the scheme of things is they're running like an NGO scheme, like a non-government organization, but it's government controlled, where where they're having outside agencies acting as mothers, fathers,
Yeah.
and 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 uncles and aunties, and realizing that we can't manage this, that it's better to turn around and help the kinship. And hence why we're here now talking about ties of kinship.
Hmm.
And it's not coincidence that, being of African background, that we
Yeah.
know the importance of family, and in terms of the circle, how we manage our families. So
Yeah.
with them, theoretically, they have said that we are the loving family, and the platonic, as in father and mother only,
Hmm.
and the child
Hmm.
system is what works. But now they've reverted. Now it's from the top down. They've reverted, and they said we want to help the extended family, and this is what this thing is about. But yet we are living like this. Can you believe this? That
So, so if I'm understanding what you're saying, essentially they revert into what we've always
known.
or what we've always been practicing.
Yes. Not only that, they want to throw money at it now, and realizing that the systems that are in place, the robust child
Hmm.
protection, children in need, parental responsibility, schools, hospital, schools informing on parents about how the children mismanaged, and then realizing, hold on, let the people take care of the people, let your family take care of you, because ultimately they're the one who's responsible for you now.
Yeah.
And we're trying to like it's been acknowledged that how more than 70% of prisoners came through the system in one shape or another.
Yeah.
More than, like, a very high percentage of probation officers, homelessness, policing, adolescents, it all comes from broken families, and the whole system is basically trying to leverage this gap. If we look at it in a how can I say, in a positive light,
Hmm.
do you think psychological, like, what can we promote from that we have, that we can contribute, and we can be part of this consultation they're offering? Because I think we can, how can I, we can literally give them a system which has been which to make to um to make an excuse for the flaws and mistakes that's happened. We can actually give them a system which I think can help them.
When it comes to issues like this, I mean, you're talking about broken homes, broken families. One What we tend to see as a result of broken homes, broken family, in one aspect is, the knife and gun culture.
Yes.
We tend statistically, we tend to find out that a lot of these guys that end up being out on road, on the streets, you tend to realize that a lot of them are coming from a broken home. And the issue has always been, whenever money is allocated to help to tackle these issues within our community, the issue has always been the funds getting to the right people, the ones that are actually dealing with the people in the community, not the ones who have set up their offices elsewhere, who are not in touch with the community. And a lot of the times, this is what happens. So you realize that when you go to a lot of these charity events, you have the main big charity,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have its affiliates. So you have the big dog who government deals with directly, and then you have these attached or attaches or whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
that are small charities.
NGOs. Okay.
NGOs, right? So
Yeah.
it's hard for and everybody's competing with one another,
Yes.
to be able to get the funding from these big organizations.
Yes.
So it's a trickle down system.
Correct.
So then you realize, yes, the government will come out. Yeah, we've announced £200 million to help tackle this issue, but realistically, when you go into it, who does the money go to? And that's where the problem is. Just go down to Angel Town. There are people who grew up in the community, know about the community, the community have one way or another shaped or impacted them, and they want to give back. They want to go back, or they want, all right, this is what happened to us. We didn't get this opportunity here. So, okay, this is where we messed up. All right, we set up this organization. We need funding. How do we get this funding? These guys are not able to go to the right source. They have to go through other channels to be able to get the funding. So then the big charities who are getting the funding directly from the source then have to distribute the fundings to these small NGOs. And this is where the problem is.
And how like, I mean, how do you think it could function if we having a family that's broken, and you have the father on one side, you have the mother on another side, and then the whole institutionalized funds, I'll call it, is coming down, and directly needs to go to the mother and the father. But then you have these gatekeepers, I'll call them, NGOs, charities. Is there ever going to be, can you envision a place where they're going to turn around and say, you know what, let's give the money let's go give this father £10,000, let's go give this mother £20,000? Because ultimately, if you can empower the parents, then you don't need to have all these charities, all these foundations, all these things. So in retrospective, is like you said, it's a top down, but it's meant to be bottom up. Because if the bottom is good, then the cream rises to the top. But then it's the other way around, because it's flooding down, and like you said, it's going to get stolen. And we know about this, about someone saying they're going to go build what did they say? They're going to build huts and farmlands for African communities. They collect £1 billion, and the guy on the ground gets like £1 and a bucket. We know about the system.
Yeah.
So this now has been implemented right here in front of our nose, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Is it a coincidence, or is this actually planned?
No, it's not. It's not that it's planned as such, but everything when you're dealing with a government, there's always red tapes. Bureaucracy.
Yes.
I've been told that we need to go on a break. I don't know, but we'll continue and see. So no, it's all right. All right, let's continue. What I do want to say is this: a lot of the time, to be able to get government loan or funding, there are some mechanism that is needed, a criteria that you have to meet. Let me just take up what you said about if that's the case, and why don't they give like sort of £10,000 to the dad or the family and so on and so forth. I don't think that's sustainable in the long run, because trying to keep the family unit, I don't think it really matters the amount of money you're giving.
Good point.
Issues will always arise.
Good point.
Right? And I'm of the belief that money well earned will be well spent. So if they really, really want to tackle this issue, it's not a matter of throwing money, because here we are. Government will always give some money, right? Give money. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. Okay? So imagine 66 million population, you're giving 200 million. So hold on. So I don't think that's going to do much.
Yeah.
Okay? What needs to happen is about tackling the inequality within society.
Okay.
So, for instance, I don't have the statistics here. The breakup of family structure.
Yeah,
It's not down to infidelity or whatever. A lot of the time, it's down to money.
100%. Yeah,
Because everybody's trying so hard to make ends meet,
yes,
right? When the pressures at work, pressure at home, pressure in society, full stop. So imagine, the other day I made this argument here. If you compare more affluent areas to that of more deprived areas, and we in the studio right here, we're kind of stuck in the middle because you turn to the left, you have Stockwell. Turn to the right, you have Vauxhall, you have Victoria, Plimlico, going to South Kensington, Sloane Square. Now, these are more affluent areas.
yes,
So imagine that a family of three, a family of four living in the affluent areas, to that of a family of three or four living in the less deprived areas. And they're all working. You will realize that our white counterparts will be earning more than the ones in the deprived areas.
yes,
Right? So check this dynamic. The black family will have to work twice as hard to be on the same salary. Okay? So weekend comes, they taking that extra shift to make more money. The white people in the affluent area, weekend comes, they sitting at home with a family, taking son to football, going for coffee in the afternoon, chilling, going out for meals, eating. This black family, Saturdays, is doing extra hours. Hey, the food is in the fridge. Okay, make sure you eat. Make sure you feed your brothers and sisters. And I'll be back. If anything happens, just pick up the phone and call me. And I'll be calling you every 30 minutes to check up on you. So the man is at work. The man is probably doing double shifts or
Yes.
working night and day.
100%.
And the mom too is doing extra hours. So you come home with all the problems you have somebody stressing you at work, and then you come home, and life happens at home. So you don't even get that extra time to sit with the family and do what family is supposed to do.
And
So if they really, really want to help, in a nutshell, is all I'm saying is let equality cuts across board. Let's pay people what they are worth.
as much as I'd like to agree with you on this one,
Mm.
I'm coming back to the argument that we need to look closely at how we are functioning as a group collectively, and in terms of our psychological and everyday factors which are affecting us in terms of our social, and why we have deprived ourselves of our given beautiful culture, beautiful way of life
Yeah.
that we've come here, we've sacrificed God knows what, and then now we're suffering, but yet the system has recognized that they need to support the structure and the system that we have anyway. So do you think what you're talking about, working and doing extra shifts and all this stuff, is not going to help us? Because even if we did do that, the society that you live in, the affluent and whoever has the money, whatnot, there's a highest, they have depression at the highest level. They have they have needs which are not being met by intrinsic monetary gains only.
No, I don't agree with that proposition, because at the end of the day, let's face it, everything is about money in this part of the world.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to get into capitalism and all of that.
Yeah.
But this is where we are.
Yes.
If that side is taken care of,
Yeah.
that I believe is half of the problem solved. Because if you need to get something, it's not a problem. It can be resolved. Then family can be comfortable. We're back home. Back home, I would say back home, a lot of people own their houses. You don't need to pay
Yes.
rent,
Yes.
right? You need to pay electricity bill, whatnot. Food, you can farm. Food is cheap. You can live, you can survive. In this country, the way the system is set up, you had direct debit. If you miss payment, you know what's happening. It affects your credit, it affects everything. So you're literally ostracized from society.
Yeah.
You're cut off society.
Liability.
So you see how far you have to go to make sure everything is intact. So imagine the other day there was statistics. You know, they were talking about COVID and the impact on society, and the breakdown was black people. Even the breakdown was ethnic minority who suffer more, right?
Yes.
But when they broke down the ethnic minority, you realize that black people will suffer more.
Because we're the bottom of the ethnic.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll be the first to lose our jobs. And we were the first to get affected by COVID because we were on the front line. So literally everything is stuck up against us. Now let me throw a bit of spanner in there. When our family, I know my family, for instance, when dad came here, it wasn't to, build something here. It was to work
And go back.
and go back. But life happens. Before you realize, okay, I think my children will have a better education or a better chance in life of making something for themselves, better opportunities here. And then before you realize, we end up here. So, in as much as the system is not conducive to us,
Yes.
we cannot bring our traditions and norms here because it won't work.
Yeah.
It won't work. We have 90% of the season sun.
What do you mean 90% of the season?
Of the season, the weather
Yeah.
back home,
Oh yeah.
sunny.
Oh yeah. Summer.
90% of the season here is
yeah.
cold, rain. How are you going to bring your coat? It won't work.
Look, come on. What you see? Our culture stops with a bit of sunshine, mate. What are you talking about?
No, what I'm saying is it's deeper than that. We're different. Our way of life is different. Everything's different. What we're trying to do is to adapt to what is here. And I think this is where we're finding it difficult because there are white people here who are as poor as black people here as well.
Yes.
They're not complaining.
They're suffering.
They're suffering.
Yeah.
But that's how the system is for them.
But they don't know. They don't know any different. So how can I say you don't know what you don't know? So if I'm in pain, I'm in pain. If I'm by myself, I'm by myself. I don't know anyone
What I'm
else.
trying to get at is they deal with it. We can't because it's a shock to us. Like we're not familiar with this. What we're trying to do is imagine we've come here with absolutely nothing, and we had to build from scratch.
Really?
Do you know how difficult? Of course,
Nothing.
we came here with nothing. We did. Do you know the amount of ethnic minorities that came here without proper documentation? And then when you have to go and live, and then to try and become legit within the system, do you know the amount of ethnic minorities in this country?
It's a lose-lose
Who
situation.
are not legit? Literally looking over the shoulder.
Easy, Jones,
And-
easy.
hold on.
Home Office is listening, please.
I haven't mentioned anybody's name. This
Yeah.
is reality,
Please,
right?
Jones, please. I have to look over my shoulder now.
I know you're good. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There are people in this country
Yes.
that they're lost within the system, and they've got to try and find a way to survive. And you see how far they have to go to be recognized as legit
Without the support system.
without the support system.
Yes. So it's
They have no recourse to public funds.
it's a counter conundrum where you kind of have to tap yourself on the back, but realize that you're losing more than you're gaining.
Of course, but you need to realize that a lot of the people here who are not legit, their mindset is not to build here. Their mindset is just to work. I can send money home and feed the family back home. So now imagine when COVID hit and people were let off from work, people were losing their jobs and everywhere closed. How do you think these guys survived?
I can't imagine. And hence why we have such a high spike in mental health.
Mental health,
Suicide.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, then it comes back to the system. The system is not conducive for us, right? In as much as the system is different and is foreign to us, then we still have to find a way to adapt within the system. And then when you find a way to finally adapt to the system, then you have to deal with inequality in your workplace. And then the list goes on.
From
and
yeah,
on and
and the
on.
justice system.
So
and the-
so imagine. So how do you then keep a family unit together? I'm not saying it's impossible. Of
No.
course, it's possible,
Yeah.
but it's harder.
Yes.
Where we're from is a village that raises a child.
Yes.
Here, it's about the individual and the state, and you can't trust or rely on the state to look after you and your family, because the state, unfortunately, when it comes to the family, family structure, doesn't have your best interest at heart. The state is just here to knock you or to tell you what to do or what
And to maintain order, to make sure
to
the
make.
system,
Yes, absolutely.
to make sure
to
the system
control you.
yeah, to make it function. And ultimately, so if the system is there to benefit the system, and you're always going to be at the bottom of the system, why is it that then we are experiencing the breakdown at such a unprecedented levels of decay within, especially in my community, where now the man is turning on the woman is turning on the kids, and the kids are turning to the streets? Is there any benefit of all this? We're coming here to improve our lives, and we came here to prosper. Is it all just? Are we just lying to? Are we going to send money back home? Is it just a lie?
No, it's not a lie, because if you look at remittances that we send back home, has made huge significance in our families back home life. Remittances alone have helped economy significantly, taking people out of poverty. Now, imagine you have a family that none of them have been able to get themselves educated, and just by sheer luck, the family is able to put money together and send one person outside of the country to come to Europe or
Yeah.
the US, where now this individual
Yeah.
works, find a way to make it into the system, works, able to send money back. Now that will improve the lives of his family back home.
But is this proving though?
It is proven. It is.
Have you seen people that's
Oh,
actually
yeah,
saying,
absolutely.
because my brother sent me money, therefore
Absolutely.
I went to school,
Absolutely.
therefore I became the minister of
Absolutely.
finance?
Absolutely.
This is accounted for.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is news to me.
No, absolutely.
But no, because the way I'm looking at it is like you're contributing more to this system, in terms of how much money you're paying towards taxes, in terms of your hours, time, energy, health, and mental health that you've
Of
sacrificed,
course, yeah.
compared to the pounds and pennies you're sending back.
No, but
Because if you spend that time, energy, resources in your own land, in your own resources, and within your own family, whether physically or not physical, I think that would have more of a yield in long-term return.
No, I don't dispute that, but we have to be realistic in our approach, because obviously you look at the economy, right? You look at the economy, and you look at the what is it called? I think it's called power parity, if I'm not mistaken. So essentially, is
Purchasing power.
purchasing power. There
Yeah.
you go, purchasing power.
Yeah.
So if you compare the British economy to that of, let's say, Ghana or Somalia, the amount of money you send back, it might be peanuts in the sense of UK money, but when it touches our economy, it's a lot of money for them.
But no, but if we can't keep going back to this argument, because we know that Africa is the biggest exporter of natural resources. So this logic of like, if we know everything's in your back garden, but you're coming to me to give you money, and I'm going behind your back collecting everything from your yard.
Okay,
So this concept, I'm really trying to understand this.
Okay,
I don't get.
Okay, let me break it down to you. So you're sitting there, you have a mic in front of you, you have a console, right? Let's just say that is the natural resources.
Okay.
Now, if you don't have the technical know-how to operate it,
Yeah.
for it to take your voice and
Yeah.
to transmit your voice to thousands of people to
Yeah.
listen to you, it has no value. It has absolutely no value.
Okay.
So it's not the fact that you have it in abundance, it's the fact that you have the knowledge to put value on it, to be able to make money. And
Yeah.
this is the problem that we have. The natural resources, yes, we have in abundance, but it's worth nothing if it hasn't been refined. It has no value at all. So if you want to place value on your product, then you need to find a way to refine your product.
Right.
And these are the people that have the technical know-how
Right.
to be able to refine these minerals,
Right.
and then sell it back to you.
Right. I want to debunk this, and going back to the show, which is basically ties of kinship, and to explain to you,
Yeah.
to make you help you understand
Mhm.
that the model that the model that we're trying to establish here is the model to success, which is
Okay.
the family.
Mhm.
And there's living proof of this,
Yeah.
and it's the biggest economy that's going to take over the world soon. And that system is not what you're talking about, where I have to come to you to extract knowledge from you because I have to come to you, even though everything is within my realm. I don't need to come to you. You're going to come to me, and you're going to do it, and you're going to pay me.
And who were you talking about?
We're talking about the Arabs and their black gold. So which Arab knew how to dig up oil and extract oil and do this and this and this? They didn't, because what they established was, which is it's in their backyard. They didn't have the expertise to dig. They had the expertise to manage, to sustain, and to look after themselves, and to understand that they will not be taken advantage of the way that we've been exploited. And the proof of that is that they have a stronger family connection. And this is what I'm trying to argue here. This is the point I'm trying to drive home to our people, that we have to understand that the value exchange that we're implementing, we're always going to lose. So if the thinking is I need to go to Europe and to work million hours and get £1,000,000, but I don't have to. If I can maintain my family, with even the peanuts I am on, but make sure there's love and there's harmony and there's unity here, they will have to come to me and work with me
Hold
on my
No,
terms.
I don't dispute that, but I think we kind of conflating two things here. I
Okay.
think first and foremost, we need to define what success is.
Okay.
To somebody, just having, a mattress on the floor and just having a family, to them, that's success. To somebody else, going to school, making sure having all these degrees, to them, that's success. To somebody else, as an entrepreneur, buying and selling stuff, to them, that's success. So what are we talking about here? What kind of success are we talking about here? If we want to be more generic, where, okay, the person has access to education, access to clean water, access to, things, the necessities in life,
The basic, yeah.
basics,
Yeah.
not luxury.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to define that. Now, how many these Arab nations that you're talking about were colonized?
All of them.
I said, how many?
They're all colonized
By who?
by the Western world.
Go on, tell me.
Saudi Arabia got colonized by the English and Americans.
Yeah,
Iraq got colonized by the English.
yeah.
Obviously, Palestine is occupied,
That's
colonized by the Israel, Americans, whatever you want to call it. Syria, they were colonized by, I believe, English as well. Kuwait, these countries, they were colonized, but in terms of they didn't get independence the way we got independence. So whereby the power was given back to a particular group of people.
The reason I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
The reason,
Yeah.
no. The reason I'm asking this
Yeah.
is you need to realize that Africa in particular, at the time they were colonized, what was the biggest commodity in the world?
Slavery.
After the abolishment of slavery, what was the biggest commodity around the world? And it was found across the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
Now you need to realize when these people colonized, they literally brought their culture and implemented their culture, which we haven't been able to break away from. So you're talking about family unit, and this is where we have, I think this is where we clash as a people. And again, the level of success comes in because you tend to realize that you have that system still there.
Yeah.
If that system is still there, remember that system was put in place to benefit the colonized. You haven't done away with that system. If that system is still there today, 60 plus years after colonization, so how are we talking about, the Arabs did it, so we should be able to do it when we are still operating under the same structure?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we can only exploit you and take advantage of you because what's there is not cohesive and is not built on something which is deeper than, like you said, like than material. it has to be deeper than superficial commodities that's been exchanged in value. Meaning, like for example, like they couldn't the system wouldn't be so embedded, like he said, and so exploitative and so entrenched in digging and extracting so much benefit if there was some kind of stabilizing neutral and understanding across the field that penetrates throughout the system and society and families. This you have to understand. If there wasn't something perpetrating for every human in the African continent, that they have they're kind of singing in the same harmonious. It wouldn't be able to go so deep. The fact that we can't get rid of it, even till now, we're still talking about it.
Yeah, but we're never together in the first place. We were never together in the first place.
Not together to that extent, but at least have like a common theme that's running through.
No, how do you expect people to have a common theme when they were never together in the first place? And I think sometimes when we make these arguments, we tend to think that Africa was once united. We were never united in the first place. We weren't united, and we're still not united.
In terms of like the languages, the tribes, the
Wherever
space,
it is,
the
right?
lands,
We're
yeah,
not
correct.
united.
True.
Everything starts with the family.
Yeah.
Family, society, nation. And how we are as a family. And I think that this, to me, I think this is where there's an issue. Because we need to go back, look at how we're brought up as, within society, and accept on where society is going. And the only way you can be classified as quote unquote modern society is by being part of the global system that we're all part of now.
Okay.
Now, has this global system shaped and changed the dynamics of family setting?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then we come back to, are we fighting? What are we really fighting? The systems that have been imposed on us, that has changed and shaped us. Because now we're into, thanks to modernity, it's all about the individual. You build your house, I build my house. Whereas before, it's a family home that comes first.
Our house.
Our house.
Yeah.
Right. Even though there's still elements of, especially within the Ghanaian community, even if I go to my friends, as my friend's dad would say to me, "Oh, come here. This is your house. You can come here at any time."
Yeah.
Okay. So, in as much as we want to talk about the family, I think for a lot of African families, or quote unquote, the culture hasn't really been fully diluted.
Right.
There's still an element of the traditional sense within us. But whether we like it or not, we've been heavily influenced. Heavily influenced. The way we speak, the way we dress, the clothes we wear, the music we listen to, the food we eat. All of these things have had a massive impact on us and shaped us. So right now, rather than the family unit we're talking about, it's about chasing, going after that dream. Going after that dream.
Material dream.
Material dream. Which to us is seen as being success. So now, being success is not measured by our way of thinking or our belief of thinking, but it's by what has been imposed upon us. Let me give you an example.
Come on. I need some good examples here because you're making a big claim here. Please.
I give it. And I think it kind of ties in back with what you were talking about, the Arab War.
Yeah.
So imagine when the British wanted to take over Nigeria. Well, now we know as Nigeria.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't Nigeria. We had the Yoruba land, we have the Sokoto Caliphate, which was the north, which was the Muslims, Islam.
Yeah.
So because the British were able to penetrate through the Yoruba land and push Christianity, push their system of governance, push everything Yoruba. The Yoruba land was developed in the sense that roads were built, Yoruba people were educated. Educated meaning the colonial education. It doesn't mean we were less educated.
That,
No.
yeah, they need a master's language.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to be able to speak the master's language and use the formula the master uses, then you were classified as educated.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one.
Okay.
Guess what happened to the Sokoto Caliphate? These guys opposed colonialism.
Did they fight? Did they fight?
No, they were defeated. They were conquered, but
Yeah.
they opposed Christianity. They opposed the teachings of the West. They opposed education, English education. They opposed
Was that Boko Haram?
it. So you know what?
Still going on.
What's still going on?
Yeah, go on.
So you know what the British did?
Yeah.
They said, okay. And before that, the British actually said that these guys, the system they have in place is actually fantastic. Their structure of governance was unbelievable. Everything
Okay.
was centralized. So you have one ruler, and then you have evolved powers
Yeah.
around the region, right? And because they objected and opposed it, guess what happened? They were less educated,
According
less
to
developed, according to them. But they applied indirect ruling.
indirect.
Indirect ruling simply means, okay, we leave the structures, systems of governance in place, but we're ruling through those structures.
Wow, that's very very ingenious.
So,
So the Yoruba, you let them, you teach them because they want to learn your system.
yeah,
These guys that don't want to learn, so you
it's
work around it.
around them. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you go against them as a son of punishment, somebody gets dealt with.
Okay.
So you're used as
As
an
per
example.
as per requirement.
Exactly.
Okay.
As an example, so nobody goes against you.
Yeah.
Or they put in place who were
In the
leaning to them more
positions of
in
power.
positions of power.
Wow.
Okay? So imagine,
Yeah.
Nigeria is what? 2014, Nigeria was 100 years old since it was formed.
Okay.
So imagine this. So look at both
But by the English.
By the English, yes. So look at both sides. You had the north and then you had the south. They just merged it together. So we formed
Complete opposites.
complete opposite. Okay. So imagine these two. What do you think is going to happen? To this day, we still have the problem of north because they oppose Western traditions, culture, and everything.
Can we apply this conservative and liberalism hat to them?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's a good representation? Whereas they're like, we want our system, which is conservative ultimately, and they're saying no problem, sir. We do whatever you want, which is liberalism.
Yeah.
So do you think they can maybe between themselves understand that
No.
father and mother,
No.
let's work?
No, it can't.
No?
can't, because you need to understand that, we talk about liberalism. Liberalism, it's all about the freedom of the individual, not collectively. We're more of a collective society.
Yes.
So you tend to
The
realize
whole is
the whole. We talk about traditions and customs,
yeah.
traditions and culture. It's not about the individual, is it?
No.
It's a society.
No.
So if this is where we don't do this here, this is against our culture,
Yeah.
our culture. Whereas these people is the right. When I say these people, I mean the British, the Western. It's about the rights of the individual. Of course, there's going to be conflict.
So you're saying the individual is basically another word for liberalism.
It is. It's right of freedom, right of freedom of
Self-expression.
self-expression, individual rights, basically, right? Property, yeah.
But then that goes against the whole argument of governance. But because remember the way the system of the government works is like you said, the police and infrastructure and authority is to inform and to enforce itself upon the masses to make sure that my voice is the loudest. But how can you have that and have the individuals scalabanting and coming to their own self everywhere?
No. So their whole about the rights of the individual is you have a right as an individual, as
Okay.
a human being.
Okay.
Okay, so you tend to realize because of the way our structures are,
Yeah.
and I say our structures, I mean, especially in Africa,
Yeah.
you tend to realize anyone that goes against what society deems or sees as right, you're left as an outsider.
Outside of
So you don't have a right.
yeah,
So we have a collective belief
Yeah.
system, whereas they have individual rights. So that's why today, a lot of the African countries, when you talk about LGBT, they'll say, hey, in our society, we have our culture, we have our traditions, we don't agree to this. But in here, you have the rights of the individual to freely express themselves how they want, and you have to respect that.
but that's a new phenomenon. Like
It's not new for me. Absolutely not. It's not new. What do you
20,
think-
20, 20, 30 years ago, they never had that.
What do you think liberal democracy is?
No, but 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't have so much expression in terms of your sexuality and this and that. You were shunned and you were told you were an outsider.
No, democracy has no beginning or an end.
Ooh.
No. We need to.
What's is
clarify
God? Slow down,
that.
bro.
No. It hasn't.
Only God has no beginning, no end.
No. Listen, I understand, of course. And the reason why I say that is this because you just made a point saying that about 50 years ago, if you were gay,
Unacceptable.
it was criminal. It was
Yeah.
as a criminal.
Yeah.
It was a crime.
Wow.
Okay,
Exactly.
it was.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the right of the individual, what do you think it is? Because there's going to come a time where a lot of individuals will identify as this, who are part of society, that according to this liberal democracy of the rights of the individual, their rights have to be adhered to. So if in the 50s it was frowned upon because society was different, things have changed, and thanks to technological advancement, everything is through technology. We've come to this
Yeah.
part of society or this time in the 21st century now, right?
Yeah. Advances, yeah.
Things have changed. We don't think like how we used to think back then. But then, radio stations. We didn't have camera phones. Now everybody has camera phones. Things have changed. Things have moved on now.
Yeah.
And the rights of an individual cannot be limited, as we found out now. As we all know the type of discussion that's going on. There are people who say that they're suffering from is it trans dysphoria, right?
Uh-huh.
Trans dysphoria.
What's that?
So gender dysphoria. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Gender dysphoria.
Are you wake up in the morning, man, even if you feel like a woman?
So, well, that's the debate that's happening now. And society,
Sorry.
society
Sorry,
don't
John.
understand it. No, society don't understand it. So what will society do? Will kick against it.
You shun it,
The
yeah.
more society kick against it, the
Uh-huh.
more people will come out because people are saying, no, actually, I identify as this. I identify as this. Now, you're infringing on my rights. What makes you different to me is the fact that, I have different sexual orientation to you. Is that it? If that's the case, that's my right. If I want to do that, that's my right. So tell me, where does liberal democracy begin or end? Absolutely not.
Freedom of expression, the man says.
Absolutely.
Freedom in your bedroom, you can express yourself. I mean, what does that got to do with you coming to the open market and telling me about your sexuality? But this is we're going off topic here, boyfriend. This is not.
No. We're not going off topic. I don't think we are because, like I say, society that becomes family, society, and a nation.
Mhm.
So, in as much as we're talking about the family unit, again, we happen to be here in the West. Where we're coming from, a lot of our cultures frown upon these things, but these things are happening. So you tend to realize that, in as much as we're trying to keep our culture together and
Yeah.
raise our children right and everything, to keep pushing the culture from one generation to another generation,
Yeah.
you're having children who now identify as LGBT.
Well, next week I will bring you statistics and information to prove to you that, going back to my topic of how psychological impacting and the deterioration of these sexual deviances is coming from the broken family. Because ultimately what's happening is the fact the family is broken, that the person is turning inwards because they don't have the love or the attention they're supposed to be receiving from the like we said, families and communities and societies, and it's breaking down because they don't have that foundation of loving father and mother, uncle, auntie, cousin, etc.
I disagree with that because if you're saying that, then you're saying that people identify or having different sexual orientation is a new phenomenon. It's not.
No, 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 it's not a new phenomenon. But I'm saying to the extent whereby now it's becoming so prevalent, and it's not a secret. This is connected to mental health. Like you say, you find a high percentage of people who are antidepressant and all this stuff tend to be of different sexual orientation. It's not like
But is
it's
it
open.
driven? No, but is it driven by the sexual preferences?
No,
That's
no,
the
no,
question.
no, no. It's driven by the broken families. It's driven by the fact that there's a broken family, or there is lack of love and attention, and that's why you said in our society there's a lot of it now, and it's coming out to the surface because in our society, what's happening? We're moving away from our fundamentals because we're too busy
No,
working.
we're not moving away from our fundamentals. I don't think. I just think that we're in a time where people are actually looking to challenge society as a whole, and I think there's a global community, and you know I might sound like I'm going off topic here, but this forms part of this um, global kind of system.
Mm.
So you realize that if you have a problem, you find out that
Yeah,
somebody else had it.
naturally, yeah.
But before, we weren't able to identify with other people's pain. We only used to hear about it, or we didn't even know about it unless it made news. Now, thanks to technological advancement, people around the world are connecting. So the same persecution one person might be facing
Yeah.
in Ghana, the same person is facing in Somalia. What they do, they connect, so they become a global force. So it's not to say that I understand. I do understand that a lot of the times people do seek for the kind of
External
external
validation.
validation
Yeah.
outside. Of course,
Yeah.
it's a factor.
Yeah.
But I think if you just stick to that argument alone, then you're more or less trying to say that other factors don't matter, or to say that this is a new phenomenon. It didn't used to happen before. It didn't used to happen before because people didn't have support. It didn't used to happen before because we didn't used to see that I'm going through the same thing you're going through. But right now, in real time, we can. People can form, little groups, forums,
But
having discussion,
Yeah.
get people to sponsor them, to lobby politicians, and so on and so forth.
For example, but this we're trying to argue that this is all a false pretense that we're living under. It's all it's mirrors and illusion because you can clearly see it's not working because the government has said themselves now, and we start with the topic. They're saying the thing that we thought was going to work. Let me express myself. I know you're my neighbor over there, and Johnny Walker in Northampton is experiencing the same thing as me. Let's connect with him. It doesn't work because ultimately your support system, going back to what you said, your support system, which is your cousin, your uncles,
Yeah.
that's what really works. Hence why now there's a consultation, reformation, and going back to the essence, which is the family, which is the father, the mother, the uncle, the aunties. Because this thing, what you're saying is that I can connect to anyone, is beneficial in one extent, which is when it comes to building and expanding and making your voice heard on a global scale. But when you're in home by yourself in your bedroom, the only person you need is your mom to give you a hug. This is this.
No, no. See, see, I think there's another aspect that we need to try and tackle because we're talking about
The breakdown of the
breakdown
families.
of family.
Yeah,
Right. So imagine you have, there's one family
yeah,
that the family is broken.
yes,
The children feel isolated.
correct.
And this child is having issue with his or her
Mother or father.
no mother or father, how they feel sexually. Okay.
Mm.
So hold on. Follow me
A
here.
child is sexual. Go on.
No.
I'm listening.
Because growing up.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's say about 12, 13, 14, because you get puberty.
yeah,
Now you want to experiment. You're thinking, okay, what do I like? You're thinking, okay, in my part of the family, I see my mom and dad. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be. My faith, my culture, everything tells me this is what I'm supposed to be. I'm having this feeling. What do I do? Because the moment I come out, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so the problem is so deep. In as much as we're trying to keep that quote unquote the conventional way of family, these other factors are coming in, and I think we're finding it difficult to um to maintain, to control, or to include, because inclusion is where we're struggling. And let me give you a story. So there's somebody that I've worked with in the past,
Yeah.
and we will talk, and this person every time at work just seems like the world is on his shoulder, right? And so we keep talking. Me, obviously the work I do. So I
Yeah.
ask questions.
Yeah.
So anyway, about 6 months later, we went to work again, and then I asked, "Oh, so how's the family? How your family?" And then they were shocked. They were like, "How did you know?" I said, "Oh, because you told me you and your family were not getting on."
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I saw on social media that this person, lesbian, right?
Uh-huh.
Then it made sense why the family was so against the things that she was doing. They were trying to even force her into marriage, and she refused, and she was kicked out of the home. So imagine this person now growing up, being kicked out by the family. What do you think they're going to do?
Ah. You know what? This is. You know what? I'm glad. This sounds like one we can continue. We've only got 1 minute left. Again, it has been absolutely amazing. Awesome to have you here, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And I'm glad we started talking about the family and somehow we ended up in the bedroom. And this is the beauty. This is the beauty of the family. This is what I love.
Family start.
This is how the family starts, and that's how we're gonna end it. With love, bliss, and kisses. Thank you so much. Hopefully, catch you next week. This is it's been a pleasure, Mr. Jones. Mr. Ties of Kinship. Make sure next week you call and let us know. And if you have any questions, we're ready to answer them. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close up, sir?
All being well, we'll see everybody next week. And continue, because we're talking about issues affecting us in the family.
Yes.
The family dynamic.
And I believe you always say charity starts at home. So
Absolutely.
from the bedroom to the bathroom,
Mhm.
and that we're gonna keep it local, not international. We keep it local over here.
Yes, because it is affecting us.
Yes. And next time we bring some. Can we bring some rice here next time?
I don't know. If it's
Thank you so much. Your mates are talking about. I want to marry you. You sound so good, eh? You sound so good.